Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. I greatly appreciate you coming back. Well, today, hopefully I'm going to show you something that you've not seen before. I know I haven't. But who knows? It's kind of hard to come up with original ideas these days. There are so many out there. What I'm going to show you, though, is how I took a normal greeting card and just turned it into a simple one signature journal. But I did some cool things in it. At least I think they're cool. But let me tell you a little bit about these cards. Long story, I'll make it short. Years ago, I was on Craigslist poking around. I think I was looking for something to do with my cricket, like maybe a bundle of cartridges or something that someone was getting rid of. Anyway, instead, I found a posting for greeting cards. The price was cheap, and apparently there were thousands of cards. I couldn't get there, but when I talked to the gentleman, he was closing up a greeting card store and stationery type store, and he had a lot of cards with their envelopes, promised me that there was an assortment of cards. Again, I couldn't go, but my husband was working in that area at the time, so he went by. And I told him, if the cards look in good shape, you don't see a lot of damage, grab them. He did. Well, when he came home with those cards, I am not kidding you. There were boxes, those plastic round tubs with the rope handles. There was one of those. There were plastic bins. I can't begin to tell you how many cards and envelopes, but they were in disarray. Nothing was matched up. Anyway, so I simply, slowly but surely, sat down, went through the cards, inspected them to be sure that they were in good shape, because some did have some water damage. I would put those to the side, because there's always a good part to the card you can get out. I made some ATCs out of some of them, bookmarks, so on and so forth. So really little waste even with the damaged ones. And they all seem to have envelopes. Of course, to this day, I've never matched them all up, but there were tons of envelopes as well. Well, going through them, yeah, there were birthday, there was Goodwill, Goodwill, where I go a lot. There was Get Well, there was Sympathy, Thank You, but, it's a large but. The overabundance were Mother's Day and Father's Day. Now, when I say Mother's Day, I mean like Mother's Day for your wife, for your grandmother, Mother's Day for your daughter, Mother's Day for your sister, whatever. And the same with Father's Day. Father's Day, Grandfather's Day, Granduncle Day, Grandson Day, son, happy Father's Day to your son. How many Mother's Day and Father's Day cards can you do in a year? So I did start selling them. I take them to work when the time comes and sell them simply for $1 a piece. Now, I have made my money many times over. Wasn't trying to get rich on them. Thought I was going to have a better assortment of cards, but really not complaining about it at all. For instance, this is one of the cards that I've gotten. Now, this card is beautiful to me. It's also worth $7.99 if you bought it in the store. Of course, I'm selling it for $1. Okay. But because I have so many, I said, you know what? I need to do something with all these cards. And I know I've heard many people through the years also talk about, they get cards from their relatives, their children, their spouse, and they kind of pile up, or they'll stick them in a drawer somewhere and don't know what to do with them. And then 10 years down the road, do I really want to keep these cards? Maybe yes, maybe no. People were looking for things to do with the cards. Again, I've been in some swaps where we will cut up old Christmas cards and make ATCs and then embellish them some more and make a trade. But, you can, again, only do so much with that. And then what do you do with them? They pretty much go in a little binder and you hold on to them. So because I have all these cards and because through the years I have been given cards, I said I need to do something. Okay, so I've rambled enough. Let's get to the point. Now I am going to tell you that I've done some pretty cool things in this card that I'm going to show you. So stick around, don't leave me, hold off to the end that you can see every little bit that I've done to the card. Well, this is what the card looked like before. It had the satin ribbon around it. Now this one has a plastic sleeve still on it because this really is embroidered on felt. And the felt looks like it's just really glued to the cardstock. It is all it really looks like. And then inside, normal Mother's Day card, and then the back, American greetings, and the barcode for the card. And, you know, I think that what I'm about to show you, even if your card has been used, it was given to you, someone has signed off on it, you don't have to cover the inside like I did. You could leave that card just like that so you still have that memory of that note and that signature on that card. Keep the card intact. Now I would suggest you do the part where I cover up the back. You don't need that. That's not appealing. So anyhow, let's get busy here and let me show you what I've done. So this is it. As I said, I've taken off the ribbon now. I have to say, I think the card is a little plain. But whoever gets this journal, they can always do something up here. You know, I was thinking about some kind of label that has a fancy word in it, or if you're going to use the journal, maybe to keep up with activities at your child's school. You know, you could write activities or the child's name or something up here, you know, some kind of little pretty label. So that would be for the receiver to figure out what they want to do. So let's untie it here and let's get in here. Alrighty, so here we go. We're going to lay it down. So in the very front first, I covered the entire card with just a pink, I cannot talk today, with a pink piece of cardstock. It also made the card a little more stout. I didn't care about keeping the inside of the card. No one had given it to me. It was, you know, brand new. So covering it did not bother me. And I'll go ahead and flip to the back so you can see it is totally covered, okay? One whole piece. And then what I did is I did make a pocket. And this is funny, when I went to the retreat that I've told you all about there in northern Alabama at the beginning of the month, oh my heavens, we traded and swapped so much stuff I cannot begin to tell you. Well, this one lady, Jan, who I have to tell you I really enjoyed sitting next to her, she had a plastic bin full of cards this size and some 8.5 by 11, I think, or maybe 9 by 12. But she said something about her mother being in the dry cleaning business. So I'm thinking that this is probably one over the hanger. This is how much your dry cleaning bill. That's your number for your piece. Thought it was pretty cool. I now have hundreds of these. So these will probably be being used in a lot of things I do. But they're plain. So always a note or a photograph or a sticker or a receipt or something can always be attached to that. And these are just some little bookmarks that I picked up along the way. Now, because the front of the journal does have this flower and hummingbird on the front of it, I decided to kind of keep with that theme throughout the journal. Now, it is just a one signature journal, and I'm going to tell you, no, it doesn't have a lot of embellishments. That's not what this is about. To me, a one signature journal is about use me, abuse me, take me places, write in me, stick things on me, scribble on me. It is to travel with you. It's to go places. So I did, however, do just a touch of stamping all throughout. And again, I kept with the flower theme. And because it was this, I figure it's very feminine. Flowers will not be a problem. So again, kind of plain. Thought that was really pretty. Now this is, excuse me, I have a tickle. This is a blueprint, a piece of a blueprint. As many of you know, I do have blueprints in my Esty shop. These are true blueprints that you cannot get anymore. Now they're copied on fancy printers, but these are real blueprints. These, I think, are like electrical or something with all the grid marks. So I don't think people will really want those. So I try to find a reason to use them myself. And I like the lines. It gives you a place to write. Now, the other thing, too, about the stamping that I did, many times we're stuck in traffic, or we're at the doctor's office, or we're waiting on somebody, something. The flowers and things that I stamp, to me, are places for you to doodle. You can color in, play with it, embellish on it some more. So that's why my stamping is kind of generic and plain. It's for you to make it fancy. So again, keeping with the flower theme. Now this piece of paper I received from the same retreat. I think it was Annette who had different papers that she had, tested coloring. Instead of tea dyeing, she did some other kind of coloring to them. And I snatched it up because I thought that color went pretty well with this color. Excuse me, I'm going to have to get a drink here for a second. Okay, thank you very much. Ooh. So some more flowers, and this is tea-stained paper. And here I am with some more of my blueprint paper, and a different kind of stationery with roses. Now, I want you to notice my signature, and we're going to get to that at the end. But my signature doesn't have the strings on the inside. You know how many times we'll attach like do a couple little butterfly, die cuts or some circle die cuts or something put on the end of them. Mine are on the outside. So here we go. Now this is the other half to the signature. And again, some different kind of flowers for you to play with. That colored paper, the other side to the stationery. Again, a little vase with some flowers in it. Some cardstock, a flower, and then a little arrangement of flowers. Now, on the back, I probably did the most of any kind of embellishing to the card. And what I did is I went ahead, oh, excuse me here, this is a little crunchy, and I did cover the back of the card. I didn't quite get it exactly even, but it doesn't affect the wear or anything of it. So here we go. So now you don't see who the card is made by. You don't see that ugly barcode. And then the inside of that flap, another one of those inventory or dry cleaning tabs, is another pocket. Now, when you flip it open, I had a couple of envelopes that I went ahead and made some pockets. Now, this is just some Yupo paper that I had done some abstract watercolor on at a retreat that I went to last year. Wasn't really very exciting to me, but the paper was kind of cool to play with. I had never played with it before. So there it is in some rosy tones, and here it is in some like blues and silvers. So I cut those down just to make some little journaling cards. You need to find some kind of use for everything. And then, so I've got those pockets. I had switched the envelopes opposite after I sealed them up. And then I laid this bottom one now is glued entirely on the back side, glued all the way down. And then this one, of course, is just glued on top of it. But I did glue the bottom of this envelope all the way down now too. So this little card or whatever you put in there will not go any farther than right here. Okay? So you won't lose it. It's not going to fall all the way through. Now this is one of the things that I thought was pretty cool that I did. I just took some miscellaneous paper with some lines on them, some grid paper, just places for you to write notes. And I made a little tag, folder holder, is that what we call it? Paper holder. And it is on the bottom glued to the card. So what I did then is I took some paper, cut it kind of to the same size, more or less, stapled them together. Oh, excuse me. And I then ran them through a sewing machine. Now you're saying, why would you sew that together? I didn't sew them together. Remember, I stapled them. But what I did do is I ran them through the sewing machine, and let's see if you can see. I don't know this is going to show up, without thread. So it perforated the paper. So now you write your note, and if this is a note that you don't need anymore, or you've done a to-do list and you've done it all, you can now take and tear that piece out. Pretty cool, huh? And the best part about this too, you can untie this ribbon. This little flap is going to come up. You can remove the piece of the paper pad up here that I have stapled together. Make you some more. Just use what I have up there as your template to where to punch your holes, and then you can tie your ribbon all back together again and refill this paper pad. Pretty cool, pretty easy, pretty neat, refillable, refillable. So let's go ahead and fold this all up now, and let me get back here to this. Now, as I said to you, this signature was done opposite normally of what you do. And that meant that my twine came out this side. So what I did is, this twine is in 3 different colors. So I took the one that's in the book and that is stitched in is the medium color. So then I took the lighter and the darker, and I simply tied them together as if I were going to tie a knot. Well, instead of tying off the knot once I had it twisted, I took it up under my string that was coming out of my journal, and then I tied it off. And then I tied it again. So what it did is it captured the string that was coming out of the journal. You might have to play with it, but you'll get it. And then I just took some glitter glue and I glued onto that knot to hold it. And then I did the other string just the same way. So then it gets better. Now you have 3 strings coming off of here. Now if you can see, let's see if I can do this. As you can see, one is loosely woven and one is tightly, I shouldn't say woven, it's braided. This one is loosely braided and this one is tightly braided. I just did that for this journal just to show you the difference and for you to decide how you want it. Now, I know what y'all are saying. There is no way is she going to be able to handle that journal and keep that cord from getting all messed up. Well, yes, there is. Let me tell you. I took glitter glue and put it on my finger and then rubbed it between my finger and my thumb, and then I started at the knot that I made and slowly ran my finger all around that cording. When my finger and thumb were dry, I got more and started where I finished and did it again. Now, I did have to do it a few times, but this cord is glued together. It's still pliable. It's still flexible. I mean, there's nothing. So I won't have any trouble with this coming apart or something getting stuck in there. And the thing that I like about it is it takes from one piece of twine that you did to sew your signature together, it now gives you a more stout way to tie off your journal. Now you have 3 pieces of cording instead of 1. So, what do you think? Can you do this with your cards? Sure you can. It doesn't matter what the size of the card is. Actually, if it's a smaller card, it would probably be a good way for you to use up some scraps. Now, again, I did this simply as a journal to use, a journal to write in, a journal to keep track of stuff in. I didn't do this, as people say, as a junk journal. Not real fond of the term junk journal, so let's say creative journal. Didn't do it as a creative journal. I did this as something for me really to keep notes in. For instance, like I said, you keep up with your child's school. You know, if you have a special project at work, this is so compact and so neat, and it probably won't really get very fluffy, depending, I guess, on how many things you put in the pockets and maybe what you glue to the pages. But I've made my string long enough that it doesn't really matter. It'll hold what you put in it. And this card is pretty tough. So anyhow, you take your old cards now. I shouldn't just say old, new cards, like I did, and make you some single signatures. Use up those papers that you have, and let's create this stuff. Can you imagine someone giving you a card? You think the card is beautiful. You throw it in a drawer to never be seen again. We know how expensive cards are, so let's do something with it. Also, can you imagine you take that card, yeah, you hold on to it for a little while just because. You want to have respect for the person that gave it to you. But what if you took that card and did this with it and gave it back to that person that gave it to you? They spent all that money on the card. You have now fancied it up and given it back to them. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed what I've done. Please come on back. I've got a lot of other things up my sleeve. There's some things that I want to do with some cards that I think, again, are pretty unique and I want to share with you. Can be done in other journals as well. So please subscribe to my channel. Give me that old thumbs up. And if you have any questions, please list them in the comments below. I'm really good at getting back to folks and commenting back. You know, I don't get a lot of questions, but I don't mind. I'll be glad to answer them for you. So anyhow, I will see you down the road, and you all have a good day. Bye-bye.